Potato is tomato.
Hello, today is January 11th, 2022.
Today we're going to be talking about elementary school.
To start things off, what are some things we miss about elementary school?
Some of the things that I miss is I remember we were more like, we weren't as stressed as we are now, and it was all fun. Everyone knew everyone, and it was just a lot easier back then.
Well, yeah, we talked about this in our high school podcast. Because we are getting older, things aren't as easy because eventually you need to become a man or a woman that can go in the world and provide money, food, and shelter for themselves. So yeah, you can get a job. So yeah, I can see why it gets harder.
What do you think what are some things do you think are the same from elementary school compared to middle school?
I don't even know how to answer that because it's almost completely changed when we got to middle school. I know the periods, you still have the same periods, and it's nice because it's not like high school when you don't know what you're going to get first.
Yeah, like there's lots of aspects that are the same, but it's more like you have more responsibility for yourself, and like you can, let's say, like you can go out for lunch and you have more freedom to do other things, and it allows like you to be doing bigger projects and more stuff like that.
Also, on the topic of elementary school, do you remember pizza days? And I remember one pizza day, I think it was the first one when I was at the school. Um, when it was the second break time, we got to the doors, and there were three main doors. One that went to the middle of the school, and then a left and right one to go into break off parts of the rooms. And I was on the left side, and people were shouting, chanting "pizza, pizza" over and over again. And I remember everybody was so crazed by it that a kid actually got trampled trying to run up the stairs to get it.
Yeah, it was so much fun back then, and we're all playing around and all that type of stuff. And like there was like I remember school plays, like there aren't any school plays, at least in my school, there aren't any school plays anymore. And I remember doing school plays back in elementary school, and they were super fun.
And yeah, it really depends on and it really depends whether your school has a stage in the gym, because I mean, if you don't really have a stage in your gym, what's the point of having a school play?
Yeah, like I remember like we had a massive stage, but it's like you either have a stage or you have like basketball courts and it's like you can't have everything. Well, except for like high school. High school gyms are like massive and they can have everything. But middle school and elementary school gyms, like they're a lot smaller because the buildings are a lot smaller in general. So it's like you can't have everything, so you have to like pick and choose which ones.
Now, do you think we're doing the same math as we did in fifth grade and fifth and sixth grade?
Well, I feel like in eighth grade, we're obviously doing a bit different math, but I remember in grade six, I just felt like it was like entirely like kind of like it's just I feel like in grade six, it was just review for grade five, and like for like 50% of the year, it was just review of the same stuff we learned in grade five. But in grade seven and eight, I feel like it changed a lot, and we were doing different types of math.
Well, well, this is actually quite a funny question because I'm in grade six, so I'm going to review back all the way to like we're talking about elementary school, and yeah, just like you said, leading up to middle school and high school, it's more of a review.
Yeah, like I remember being like super scared, like I am right now for going into high school. I remember being scared in grade 5, because I was like, oh no, there's gonna be like this math is gonna get like super hard. I'm gonna have super hard math questions. But when I got into grade 6, it was just a review, and and the grade 7s were sort of doing this type of stuff with us, but like a level up. But since we were just in grade 5, we remembered what we had just learned, and it was like we were doing like super good, but in reality, we had already learned it. So it's you don't have to stress. So anybody who's in grade 5 who's going into middle school, I just feel like you don't have to stress as much on it. And like another thing, like and I remember some funny stories from in elementary school. Like I remember there was lots of fire drills because like there's like kids from like SKJK and like kindergarten who are like 5, and then there's like 10-year-olds with two completely different maturities. So there's kids that would pull the fire alarm a lot, and it was like I remember it being super bad in the winter months because it would get so cold.
Yeah. Um, Definitely when some idiot kid pulled the fire alarm for absolutely no reason, the kindergartners would have to go outside and we'd all have to stand there in the cold because of one idiot that pulled the fire alarm.
Yeah, it's like, and then it's like they don't get as much trouble because they don't get it. And like, I remember like there's so many things back then, and like I remember once there was a fire alarm pulled in the middle of like, I think it was in the middle of one of our like school plays. I think it was pulled then, and there's just like I feel like fire alarms should be like I feel like they should just put fire alarms higher up on the wall so kids can't reach them. Like I don't know why they put it at kid level. Put it up high so that only adults can reach them.
Or we just have like fire alarms and not like the pull if you see a fire. And yeah, just like you said, why don't you have it up a lot higher where an adult would have to reach up and pull it down rather than have it just like perfectly at kid height so the kid can see it on the wall and pull it down. Now, I'm gonna tell you a story. When almost accidentally pulled down a fire alarm. We were at we were going to the gym and we stopped in the step on the steps leading down to the uh, ground floor, and I I stood up against the wall and had my hands behind my back, and I felt I was pulling something, and I looked behind me, and the fire alarm was halfway down, and if I moved it any more further, it would have gone off, and I was so scared. Um, and I was so scared to push it back up because I thought to myself, oh, maybe that's what turns it on. So I had to carefully push the fire alarm back up onto the wall.
Yeah, and now for our next thing. This part is going to be mainly for people who are in like grade 5 going to middle school. There, in middle school, we have rotary teachers. Same with elementary, but rather than them coming to like those teachers coming to us, we have to go to their classes, which I think is a good thing because it allows like you have to get up and grab all your stuff and you have to walk across the school to like your rotary teacher. And I think it's a good thing because it allows you to stretch your legs and you're not as tense for when the period is and you can learn a lot more.
Um, I actually kind of disagree with that. I quite, I just find it a little almost unneeded. The fact that maybe it's like the end of the day and you've got your coat on the back of your chair and your bag's open, and then let's say the music bell rings, and let's say you brought something to ride home with and it's in the class, you have to carry all of that to that room, and maybe that room's on the other side of the school. So you have to be carrying a lot of weight, and if you do it every day, it can start to get really repetitive and hurt you.
Well, it's different because well, not this year because of COVID. Well, we'd have lockers, so we wouldn't have to bring our stuff anywhere. We'd have our like duotangs and all that put in one big like really big folder, and then we'd just carry that big folder with all of our stuff in it to each classroom. And most of the time we wouldn't have a rotary teacher last period, and if we did, we'd just do that class, come back, grab our stuff from our lockers and go. And it's better than just staying in your class for the entire time, because you get a change of scenery, and I think it does help you a lot with learning.
So our next topic is, what do you miss about about elementary school?
Well, I miss the plays a lot, but I do miss, like, this might just be our school. I really have no idea. I have no way of really knowing completely, but I remember having like pizza days, and there's like milk, and you to get like there's like lunch ladies, and there's all this like extra programs for like food and stuff. And I guess we don't need it in middle school because we can go out for lunch and all that, but I kind of miss those days.
Yeah, about middle school, I really miss, I'm gonna say it, the no homework. I just found we actually, we also talked about this in our high school podcast. I really miss just going home knowing I didn't have any work to do because we did it all in class that day. But now, I know when you're going into high school and stuff, you're gonna have a lot more work, and like we said in our last podcast, it'll start to take a toll on your mental health.
Yeah, like I 100% agree with you. And like it all depends on the teacher. Like you sometimes you get lucky, you get a good teacher, and you wouldn't have as much homework. But I feel like we should have had some, like at least a tiny bit of homework, because the fact that we didn't have any homework, like at all, didn't really prepare us for middle school. And the fact that we're not having like like as much homework as we should be in middle school, I feel like none of us are going to be ready for high school.
All right, that's a great place to end it. Um, um, that that's all the time we have today. Hope you enjoyed this podcast. We release them almost every day a week. Sometimes we might miss out. And to you, Bucket.
Yeah, make sure to check out our high school podcast. And I hope everyone has a great day. Potato is tomato.